Hey, how you guys doing? This is Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast. I'm not really. This is going to be an audio only video because we're going to be talking about the Xfinity Series at Daytona real quickly. It shouldn't be any more than like 7 minutes or something like that. Um, Approaching this race, it's going to be very similar to how I approach the Truck Series race, and you can either it's very similar to how I approach every single race, to where it's stack guys from the back, play guys from the back, expect wrecks, and I really do think that this weekend we're going to see a lot of wrecks. We've already saw it in the Truck Series. We're going to probably see it a lot in the Xfinity Series, although they tend to be cleaner. Then they're probably the cleanest of the three series. I don't expect that to stay there because I don't expect that to be the case because I think we're going to see rain possibly be a factor, and rain was a factor in the Truck Series race. Rain came very close to the speedway that they really didn't talk about a whole lot on television. I don't know what Fox's deal. I don't know what their deal with is. I don't know what their deal is with not talking about the weather on there. I don't know if they're afraid people are going to tune off or what, but rain was coming, and I think NASCAR is very worried they were going to have to end this race under yellow, which is why I think that's why we saw multiple cars spin out on the apron, and NASCAR refused to throw yellow. It's also because, they don't have the right name, but I think that was the main reason why they didn't want to throw yellow, because they didn't want to run into the risk of ending it under rain or something like that. And looking at the weather for tomorrow, even throughout this weekend, rain is going to be a factor. It's really going to be a factor tomorrow. It's really going to be a factor on Sunday for the 500. So we'll just have to see what happens there. Everybody has sponsors in this Xfinity series this weekend, so that's not an issue. Not really worried about anybody starting and parking. Everybody is really prepared. So we're going to see, I think there's 46 cars or 45 cars trying to get in. Yeah, 45 cars. We're only taking the top 36. So sending a lot of guys home, which is unfortunate. Sending a lot of good guys home, which is unfortunate. Um, Typically, these guys that are trying to make their way in are guys that I love to play at the plate races. People that don't have a ton of owner points, or people that don't necessarily perform very well, or aren't, name recognized people, or people are afraid to play or not really focusing on. So, for example, Mario Goslin, Cesar Bessarelli, Jesse Little, Ronnie Bassett Jr., Bailey Curry, Robbie Lyons, Greg Alding. And a quick mention about Greg Alding is Jimmy Means has been looking for sponsors forever. Greg Alding is an awesome driver. He has a shit ton of talent, and nobody ever really talks about that. He just hasn't had a whole lot of good runs. But Greg Alding has brought full-time sponsorship to the Jimmy Means car, so don't count out that 52, especially at road courses. I expect Greg Alding to compete for a win at a road course this year. Just keep that in mind. But continuing this list on, Greg Alding, Danny Bone ran extremely well, extremely smart in the Truck Series race. That's what I want to see. Kyle Weatherman, Alex Labay, probably not Anderson. I'm not really interested in him unless he starts in the back. Brandon Dovick in the 26 car. Jason White in the 23 car. I really like him as a low-owned play if he gets into the race. Who else am I looking at? Cody Ware. I think he's the last one in the 17 car. Just people that people don't normally play. Uh, and if these guys actually make the race, if they can race their way in, they're going to be awesome ownership plays, awesome leverage plays. Um, because as I say, you got to play guys from the back. You got to play guys who aren't recognized, who aren't um, familiar, who the public don't play. That's the way I approach these races. The truck race went extremely well for me. I was disappointed originally because a lot of the guys that I wanted to play didn't qualify in. I'm fearful that's going to happen in the Xfinity Series as well, but that's just something we're going to have to worry about. But yeah, like I said, I expect this race to have a lot of wrecks in it. I expect ownership to be on a lot of the names that people recognize, and a lot of the or a lot of the people who have a good chance to win this race, have good equipment, have a good chance to finish inside the top 20, are going to go under owned because they don't have the name recognition. They don't have the the idea of being good racers. And even if you look at people's recent finishing, uh, not finishing, track history, that's what I'm trying to think of. If you look at people's track history, You can go to racetheprize.com and get the fantasy NASCAR spreadsheet that I use and that you need to be using as well to make these types of decisions. If you look at people who have done quote unquote bad, Caesar Bassarelli, Joe Graff Jr. I don't think Joe Graff's in this race. Matt Mills, he's not in this race either. People like Jeffrey Earnhardt, they're about the only ones who actually have history who show up bad. So going back to some of the guys I like, Danny Bone, he doesn't have recent speedway history, so people aren't going to look at him. Greg Aldean, people aren't going to see him and be worried about it. Even Bailey Curry to an extent, Ronnie Bassett Jr., Jesse Little, Cesar Bassarelli, Mario Goslin. These types of guys aren't popping up. Even Stephen Parsons to an extent. These guys aren't going to pop up on the track history, on the driver history page, on whatever spreadsheet they're using or whatever, if they're using Racing Reference, whatever the case may be. These guys aren't going to pop off as plays that you should make. I imagine a lot of people are going to look at Justin Haley. A lot of people are going to look at, actually Greg Aldean has performed very well, so he might gain ownership. We'll have to see if people talk about him or not. Harrison Burton is going to be popular because he's done very well. Michael Annett, people are going to see that he's done very well. Jesse Little, again, they're going to see him have good track history here, good recent plate race history. So maybe I might have to consider not playing Jesse Little as much as I wanted to. But Brandon Brown has some good history that you can look at. Ryan Sieg has some history that people are going to look at. Josh Williams to an extent. Kobe Howard to an extent. Riley Herbst to an extent. So these are the names that I imagine are going to carry ownership. So if you're looking at track history, if you're looking at plate history, almost embrace the chaos. I mean, Justin Allgaier. I'm interested in Justin Allgaier in the sense of I'm curious what his ownership is going to be. I don't think I'm going to play him. I think he should start up front at 10,500. A lot of people are going to see that price and think that they need to play him. Maybe the recent track history or the recent plate history of 29th, 30th, 18th, 30th, 28th, 28th, and the last 6 races there maybe scare some people off. But, embrace bad track history. Embrace names that really make your stomach get nervous about playing, because that's who wins you money on plate races. It might not take down a GPP, but look, I am certainly not going to complain with tripling, quadrupling whatever amount of money I put in there. So that's how I attack these. We're gonna have another live stream. I think you're probably listening to this in the morning of the Xfinity Series race anyway. We're gonna have another live stream. Pierce and I probably gonna start around halfway through qualifying like we did today. So come out, chat with us, ask us questions, and best of luck. That's my 2 cents going into Daytona. Play guys from the back. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Don't matter who the damn driver is, just play guys from the back. Thank you for listening.